Hello, and welcome to the Overprepared DM podcast, a podcast where we talk about not being overprepared as a DM, a dungeon master. Maybe you're listening, maybe you're a DM wanting to get on that, but listen to us tell you some tips and tricks and things like that. Hi, my name's Jen.
My name is Nick.
And we are here.
And I'm Bright, I guess.
Yeah.
You are.
We are here with Bright. We love it. Welcome. Hello.
Hi. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Tell us about you. What do you do in the D&D world? I've met you on Twitch, and you've DM'd me through a charity game, and that's how we know each other. But who are you?
Yeah,
The
totally.
big question.
I am Bright Dystopia. Everybody calls me Bright. I am a voiceover actor, Jasper's Game Day ambassador. What else do I? I'm a professional DM for Magpie Games, and a variety Twitch streamer. And I do TTRPG content when I'm not on my channel, which doesn't make sense. I because I planned that one out perfectly, and I'm a genius at branding and marketing. That I do nothing about TTRPGs on my own channel, but it's all I do outside of it. And I just kind of like guest on a bunch of different shows doing my stupid little voices, and I bring my silly little soundboard, and I make my cast break on stream. Yeah.
Yeah, like
my
when...
job is to hurt them, is to hurt my cast.
When I did the one shot with you for the charity stream that we both did over on the Initiative Order on Twitch, you decided to give a little level 6s or a level 4 or something very little. You're like, here's a Turesk.
No. I think didn't I throw you guys in like a higher?
It was ridiculous.
Like level 15 or 12, right?
No, it was like so little. I was like, why are we fighting this?
That's every DM's dream, though. Like, tier 1 play, level 3, level 4. Hey, guess what, guys? Here's a Trask. You can fight it if you want to.
And then we were fighting for so long that you narratively killed it because we were cut for time.
I was getting yelled at because like she's like, you need to end this. I was like, oh, I'll end it. And I dropped a Trask in there. I was like, go.
Oh, no.
I'll end it. She's like, not like that.
That's
I was like,
not
okay,
what
I'll let them live.
But,
I was like, do you want me to end this or not? I don't...
That is so funny.
I didn't know this was such a short session. I thought it was a 4-hour session.
And it's definitely like 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
But by the time you guys are listening to this, it's Halloween in America.
Yay.
So happy Halloween! Yeah. The excitement. Do you guys have any plans or D&D plans for your groups or anything like that?
We did a D&D stream on Wednesday, this past Wednesday, which we have a YouTube's now, so go check that out. We couldn't play in person, but everyone dressed up on stream. But on Sunday, Halloween, I have a 4-year-old, so we're going to go trick-or-treating.
So cute.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's
a
good
Bright?
excuse. I definitely won't be going trick-or-treating because I don't have kids.
Because I'm not a child.
Yeah, no. There's no reason for me to be out there, but like, who doesn't want candy? I mean,
what about you? What's your plans, Brian?
I have the best New Year's. I have the best Halloween plans. I'm going to be moving into a new apartment in 12 hours from now, 16 hours from now. So I will probably be on Halloween night sweating. Or sleeping because I will be too tired to celebrate literally my favorite holiday, which breaks my heart. But new apartment.
That's awesome. Congratulations. I too will be sweating, but more so because I stuff myself full of all the candy that I bought with intentions to give them to children, but bought and ate all of it myself. Probably watching television and not answering the door. Welcome to my life.
That's a cartoonish amount of candy to eat until like you're sweating. Like I've eaten this food. Like I go to Thanksgiving and like, a fistful of turkey and you're sweaty. But like, how much candy do you got to eat?
I don't know. We're gonna find out though.
We're
gonna find out. Well, yes, as we chat today. We what do we do on this podcast?
Talk about a game. What's
probably Dungeons and Dragons.
That's the one.
Yeah,
that's the one.
Nick and I have both been DMs for quite some time, vibing, and we feel like we're privileged enough to be on this podcast giving you advice, and we want to bring on friends. And Bright being the friend today, it's lovely to have you.
I'm today's friend.
You're today's friend. And Nick always starts the podcast off in the same manner traditionally.
What is one thing that if you could go back in time and tell past you about to DM their first game and say, hey, you're doing something right now you should never do again in prep, what's one thing you definitely do not do anymore that you did when you first started DMing?
Oh, man, that is significantly worded differently than what I thought this was going to be. That is good, though. I think the first thing I would do is kick all the prepping papers that were in front of 8th grade me.
Oh, okay.
Because that was when I first started DMing. It was when I was very, very young little baby boy.
Fair.
I would slap all of the papers off of his desk. Don't do any of it. It's not worth your time. You're playing thought experiments, which is great. Keep doing that on your own time. It's like singing in the shower. Just keep doing that forever when you're not running a game. But stop. You're going to give yourself anxiety. You're going to grow up with a litany of disorders. Stop it.
Oh my goodness.
And about to enter the game, because this is I don't know, the way you worded it's so interesting to me. Like about to go into the game, I'd be like, don't argue with any of them. Just don't argue with a single one of them. Just say, yeah, that works. Let's go, and roll with it.
Yeah.
Since then I have played at probably far too many tables where like I have what I call like on the good side, yes, but DMs, or no DMs.
Okay.
And then occasionally I run into like the golden gods, which are the yes and DMs. They're like, yes, that works. Here's what I'm gonna add to this. The ones that are like, yes, but you're like, all right, you're good, but you're changing my story a little bit. No, I'm not. I want to hang from the ceiling by my toenails. I don't want to clench my actual toes into the wood and then swing upside down. Like, it's changing it. It makes me look too badass. I want this to be dumb. And you're changing it.
I want it to be dumb.
And then there's the one that's like, do I know what he's talking about? And they're just like, nah. Forget it. I want, no.
That's fair. That's fair. But I think that brings up a good point too. Like, your presentation was saying, like yes, but, or saying no, or saying yes and I think like in a broader sense, like what does that mean? Like saying yes, but someone might listen to you and not know what you mean. So like I would say you can go onto a table or start leading a table as a DM, and if you feel that sense of wanting to say no to your players, of course, within reason.
Sure.
The point is all about like expanding and letting them also tell the collaborative story with you, versus yes, you could do that, but it's not quite what you think it is, or saying no, flat out no. So then someone's kind of brought back into their seat, like, oh, okay. I have to get approval to do things. But then there's that glorious improv, yes, what you said, and also this. So what you said, you could do your yes, but in a different fashion. Say, and also you died, Roxfald. Roxfell, what? Yeah. You love my picture I painted.
Roxfald.
They falled.
I love the picture you painted of the person like sitting back in their seat, because like that's my measure of whether or not I'm doing a good job. Are people
definitely
leaning forward, or are their cheeks all the way back in their seat?
Are their cheeks sitting?
Are their cheeks kissing back? Like, that's just, if they're leaning back like this or like reclining, like I feel like I've not done my job.
Right, or if they're on their phone.
Literally. As a GM,
yeah, definitely.
So like, unless they're this close to their like screen or like, talking to me very like,
Mhm.
and then what happens?
Oh,
I feel
that
like I failed.
that reminds me of this amazing experience I had in an in-person game where I had the full table. I had a 10-person game, and I've talked about it multiple times on the podcast, which is a big mistake, but it's not a big mistake. I'm an organized freak, and it was fun, and it was great, and everyone had good times almost every time. I would say almost every time. It's hard to get everyone to speak, all 10 people speaking
Jen,
in every...
Jen, it's because there are 10 of them.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying my best. But the best moment I had was when all of them were standing. They all, over time, got so engaged with what was happening. They were standing, and they were engaged and, like, getting loud and moving their arms. And I was just sitting there with my little DM screen, like, hee. They're having fun.
Yeah. You love it when they're like all acting like they're angry at a game of Monopoly. Like everybody's standing and leaning over the table and ready to throw dice like it's Vegas or something. Like that's the good life right there. Yeah, for sure. Is that the largest table you've ever DM'd? Is 10 people?
It started as a 12-person game. 2 people quit after the first session because they were like, I want to try D&D, but they wanted... What?
It's because there were 12 of them.
No, it's not. It's because they wanted to try D&D, but like making the characters and learning the rules was overwhelming for them, and they said that. I even had people at the table who knew how to play, so it could be like a gentle ease versus none of you know what to do, so let's all learn the rules together and break out the books. It was like, oh, you can ask people.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Because I sense a kindred spirit here, Jen. Do you have trouble telling people no?
Yes. So what happened was, specifically with my 12-person table, this happened in 2017. It was in person. I told I posted onto Facebook. And there's a group in the area. It was like a D&D Facebook group. And I was like, I want to get an in-person D&D group together. What do you do as an adult to make friends? I don't fucking know. Please help. So I posted, I want to run a game. The big words. I want to run a game. I want to be the DM. Everyone swarmed in. I had 300 plus comments of like, where do you live? What do you do? Like, where can we meet? Like, what time? I have 5 people who will be down today. Like, it was insane. So I went through. It was like an interview. I like went through all of these 300 people and I looked at their pages. I was like, nope, you're a creep. No, blah, blah, blah. Like little things because I am a female. And I was posting on the internet to run an in-person game for random people. And I wanted to feel safe. So I judged people based on their looks, and I'm not ashamed. Or what they were posting on Facebook, if it aligned with what anyway, I was being very judgmental. So I, messaged a few people. I messaged 3 people. They all happened, out of this 300 group, they all happened to know each other. It was great. So I was like, perfect. And they were like, oh, and we have friends. We would love to have people. And I was like, sure. And then they were like, then their friends were like, oh, my girlfriend wants to join. And I was like, uh-huh. And then their their girlfriend was like, oh, but my brother also loves D&D. And I was like, okay.
Okay.
So suddenly we're at a 12-person table, table. And I'm like rolling in with my 45 pages of notes because I was like, what do I do? How do I tie in their backstories? Game 1. Like, it was so stressful. I'll never do it again.
I love that story.
There's my story.
That's such a journey. Goodness gracious.
If there's a D&D horror story, it's that one. It's that one. For Halloween. For Halloween. I mean, yeah.
The 12-man table.
And the first time DM.
What's the
I've
largest
run into that
time?
pitfall.
Yeah,
I've
you have?
done that.
Tell me
so
about
I
your
agreed
story.
to do it for there was a library a long time ago that my friend was running Adventures League games out of, which if you've never run Adventures League, it's these pre-written modules that you write that people have written. They have an organization that tells you this is what's canon to Adventures League and this is the stories that have been going on, and you can run them through these modules. They get experience of these modules, and then they take those characters to other tables and they can pick up their character where they left off.
Yeah.
In this daisy chain of DMs and adventures. He decided he wanted to do like a homebrew day at this library that he was running it out of, and this friend of mine was a substitute teacher and decided to tell every class he was subbing for that week,
No.
my friend is gonna come in
Oh no.
and like run some D&D. So if you guys are interested in learning how to play D&D,
Oh no.
and I ran a table for 17 6th, 7th, and 8th graders.
You see, if I walked into that room and there were 17, 20 to 38-year-olds, I'd be like, no, just let's chop this down to a solid 5 or 6.
Yeah.
But I walk in that room and there are 17, 12, and 13-year-olds. I'm like, all right, we're doing this. Let's just
I
do
need to get you
this.
in
This is gonna be
D&D.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
They were all young teenagers, and there were 17 of them across this massive wooden table. And I like looked at the one seat that was like vacant and went, "Oh no!"
And it's like the worst chair, just slowly swinging in the shadows.
It was one of those wooden chairs that's like in the libraries where they're perfectly square wooden chairs, but it's also
Yeah.
kind of a rocking chair,
Yeah.
but only on like the back half of it. It's like, oh, weird. Anyway, I wanted to leave. I wanted to be like, I can't do this. There's like 20 children here. There's no way I'm gonna wrangle this. I asked him, I was like, so is this like 2 tables, or are you gonna take some of them? He's like, no, I don't have anything with me. I didn't think this many would show up.
Oh.
I was like, all right. Fuck it. Yes, and let's do this. And
Yeah.
I took 17 of them, and they decided to split the party, and
Oh.
it was
That's helpful.
exactly as chaotic as you thought it would be. And then
Yeah.
I was like, there's 17 of you, but you're all like level 2. Like, what do I do? You're gonna fight Vecna. You know what? You're just gonna go ahead. You're gonna fight Vecna, and I'm gonna weed this table down.
So funny.
Let's teach them every lesson D&D can teach you. Like, there's teamwork, and it's great, but sometimes you hurt your feelings when your friend dies next to you because a fireball entered the room.
Yeah. I killed a character this week.
Oh no.
Yeah. Not permadeath. She got resurrected, but I did kill
Oh.
a character this week. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talk about this. This is the space.
So Phil or Wizard, one of the twins.
You're safe here, Nick.
Thank you. Thank you. I DM for 5 very strong-willed women. So yes, I do. This is my safe space. All right.
What am I?
I don't DM for you. I DM for
You're
you.
right. You're right.
For a one shot that turned into 3 shots, because that's what happens when you
It
do
was
one shot
great.
in a persistent campaign. But no, she got Finger of Death, and she died immediately. And thankfully, she got resurrected before the baddie's next turn. But yeah, I mean, I've talked about this before. My mechanic where I give the player the option to let their character pass on. So
Yeah.
I show them what their afterlife looks like. So, typical D&D backstory. Parents were dead. So she saw her parents in heaven, and they were just sitting there quietly, and they didn't say anything. They just, they didn't want to, and she decided to come back, and it was tearful. People were crying on the stream. It was great. Like you were saying earlier, Bright, that people back in their seat like this, it's okay when they're back in their seat on their ass cheeks, but they're crying, wiping tears away. That's the only thing
true.
that's acceptable.
That's true.
Or they're mad at you. Or when they're mad at you. Those are the 2 times it's acceptable. Yep.
Angry
Oh,
arms
there's
crossed.
nothing that makes you feel more alive than when they're angry with you. It's like, oh, you son of a bitch.
Yep.
You've been hiding this from me for how long?
Yep.
You monster. Yeah. No, I live for those.
Mhm.
I love. Do you do anything special when you like? Because it's rare for me to kill a character at my table.
Mhm.
Like I would rather almost chop off my own hand than let one of my
Mhm.
characters die sometimes, unless everyone's like, "No, we're in the mood to be hurt." But do you do
Yeah.
anything special at like those moments, those rare moments where someone's like, "I wanna
Yeah.
die."
So the one time I permadeathed a character so far, it was my wife's character. I kill my wife's characters all the time, apparently. That's just what I do. But the one time the roll failed and her character didn't come back. after the session, we all hugged and held each other for a good 5 minutes, and everyone cried. I didn't cry because I'm a big tough man. I swear I did not cry.
You're allowed to cry.
I 100% cried. But the
You're gonna make me cry right now.
but the great thing, what I will always do because of this, the next session, I let them I let them have the whole 3 hours to themselves in character to just interact with one another in a space that was safe and quiet, and they were just able to role play through this character's death, and it was awesome to see them all like come together over it. And the next session is going to be my go-to if a character ever dies, is just let them role play the whole time. Don't have to roll a die, that doesn't even matter. Just let them role play for the 3 hours or however long your sessions are, and just let that catharsis sink in and play it out. It was amazing. I loved it.
Definitely. That brings
You
up.
gotta have
What?
a very special and caring point of view as like a DM to be like, experience your trauma in front of me, please.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
and
love that.
that brings
Yeah.
up like an interesting topic as well, like allowing things to happen through roleplay without rolling dice. Like, I would say I haven't played at a lot of tables where that doesn't happen. Where that does happen. Wait, doesn't? Nope. Yes.
So to clarify, Jen has not played a lot of tables where dice are never rolled.
Yes.
So
there we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that has always been an interesting experience, and that's something that I've definitely done as a DM. As a player, it's almost kind of, it throws you out of it a little bit sometimes. If you're in a very serious moment and you're just role-playing and you're getting your point across and emotions are flying, and then suddenly you go, roll deception. It's
Yeah.
it's like, okay, but I can also roll, like, narratively determine if my character is telling if they're lying or not. And it's almost like a scene that you're acting out.
Mhm.
Unless, I would say, in a moment like that, if the player is like, I'm going to roll deception because they want to do so, that's fine. But I'm also cool with just letting it play out and letting emotions run high. And if they're like lying in the process, I'm using deception as an example, but if they're lying in the process, like, what would the NPC that is talking to this person right now, like, what would they do? Like, would they suspect them, or would they take this crying person and like be true? Like, it's just really based on the context, I think. And I've been at a lot of tables where I've tried to like go deep into RP, and then I'm kind of thrown out of it because there's a die roll. That also doesn't mean that it's a bad thing, because I said as a DM I do it, but also as a DM I don't do it. Sometimes it depends. I'm a big advocate of the dice tell the story, and sometimes if I'm struggling to think of how to improv the scene, I will roll the die. I'm like, okay, let's see what the dice say. Does she believe you? Like, I'll just roll a die to see. They could also roll deception if not, but usually I'll just do like a percent die or a D20, and if it's like over 10 or something, I'll just let the dice decide what the next RP is going to be, and that's when it becomes a very storytelling game. And then those types of sessions don't happen a lot with me, but they do happen, especially when it's an RP heavy session, I would say.
Sure.
But yeah, do you guys have experiences with narrative non-rolling or anything like that?
So I run games for Magpie, and they do Powered by the Apocalypse games.
Yeah.
And so all of my games are very roll light.
Yeah.
And a lot of the moves, like, so if I can confess, one of my D&D secrets here. When someone says anything to the effect of, can I roll a blah check? There's a part of me on the inside that dies and is resurrected as a rage revenant and wants to murder you. Because
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it. I would much rather you like ask me, do I believe him? Is he lying?
Me too.
Rather
I agree.
than insight check.
Right there with you.
Yeah, I'm gonna. ask me that question again, and I'll start bringing a gun to every session.
Oh my god!
Thankfully, the beautiful children at heart who work at Magpie Games have designed games that like have no check system.
Yeah,
all of their games are written as moves.
sure.
Where you say like, I would like to, and so instead of being like, I want to search, can I make a perception check? They say, I would like to, quote, assess the situation.
Yeah,
Cool. Make your roll. And then it puts them, I feel like, a little bit more into their mindset of what it is that they're trying to accomplish, rather than, can you give me the answer to this riddle you're trying to write for me?
Right. Definitely.
And I love that. I love having narrative games. I only play these days with people who are like RP heavy.
Yeah, same.
People can tell me I'm wrong, because like you're entitled to that. You're allowed to play, war games if that's what your thing is.
Mm-hmm.
Role play is the only thing I come to a D&D table for. If there's not a character, if you don't want to make a story with me, then we're probably a bad fit for a table, and that's fine. Like, call me up on Sunday when you're going to play 40K. But
Sure.
if we're going to play D&D, we're going to tell a story together, and if you don't want your story to hurt other people, that's fine. We can have a wholesome story. If you want people to cry at the table because your story is good, if you want Onion Gang, I'm here for you.
Onion Gang, that is funny. I love that.
It's the best. Onion Gang is where I live. That's my home. I'm in the center of the onion. I'm the shallot. I'm a little BB onion, and I'm actually going to be in a game soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a thing that's kind of ramping up right now, and there's been teaser trailers thrown all over the place for a channel over at Nat20. And they're doing a show called Last Time Around.
Okay.
And it's a Curse of Strahd run through, but the DMF Saint, is changing the aspects of it a little bit so that it's less of like it's less of a D&D story about, casual European racism and xenophobia.
Yeah.
And more
yeah.
about.
That's why I'm not a fan of that module.
Yeah, he's changing it to be about like the sorrow of what it means to be an immortal being trapped in an ever-repeating time loop.
Which is the better story that no one focuses on.
So
it's such a good story.
It's fantastic. Now, he has told us this story is going to reach some really dark lines.
Yeah.
And we're going to have discussions prior to every session to make sure you're okay with those lines, first of all. Second of all, we're going to be hiring sensitivity consultants to make sure that these are not, so that when people watching the game aren't going to construe them as like that DM just like body slammed him in front of everybody on stream.
Right.
He wants to make it clear, like, this is a discussion we've all had beforehand. We're going to handle it in the right way. There's going to be experts. We're going to be commenting on the xenophobia aspect of it, the psychology aspect of it, and the story writing aspect of it.
Super interesting.
And they asked a few of us to be in it. So, like, the cast so far that he has built is myself, O Sarah X Franco, and the Noir Enigma.
Yeah.
People that I'm friends with, that I interact with on a daily basis and already play D&D all the time with. We all went our separate ways for a minute, came back, and we all onion ganged. So all of our stories are really sad.
There you go.
And I'm very, very excited to see like how they're gonna hurt me. I know they're gonna hurt me, and I want them to. But like, I'm excited to see what tricks they pull.
I love it so much.
Yeah, I think
love
that's
that.
really cool. That's awesome.
I've never been so excited to play a D&D game, and that's saying something, because I played a lot of D&D since
Right.
I've played at a lot of people, and I've kicked bucket list items off the list already.
Well,
for D&D games. So
prior to this game that you're going to play, what was your favorite roleplay heavy game that you've played before? One shot or campaign or otherwise?
Man, that's tough, because there's two really good ones. And there's like one that I would bring up because it was recent, and then there's one that I'll remember it forever.
Yeah.
But it's a little name droppy, and I hate that it's name droppy.
Do it. Give it to us.
Do it.
Fine. I'll start with the one that was recent.
Okay.
Same DMF Saint was running recently this month. Was doing like a Halloween trilogy haunt. Different groups coming to the same haunted house, and then at the end he picked like a mix of the three groups and brought them back to kind of rescue their lost friends at this haunted house thing. And every single person who was on all three episodes was just a titan of roleplay. They came to fucking play, and they pulled all the stops out. All the characters were immediately endearing and lovable, and sad at the very end, and redeeming. They all did like the 10 points of the hero's journey, and I wanted to kiss them all in their mouths at the end. They were beautiful. And then there was 4 years ago. What is time?
Right.
4 years ago, I'm going to say, because I don't remember how long it's been actually. I think it was 2018. Where I went to Gamehole Con.
Yeah.
And I got to play. I had been entered. I didn't know I was entered into, but I had been entered into a raffle to play a game at Gamehole Con for like this celebrity game. And then I was told, hey, you're going to be playing a game on like the Saturday of Gamehole Con. And that game ended up being super, super fun. Everybody there was awesome. We got pre-gen characters, but everybody spun their own flavor onto it.
Yeah.
And everybody at the table was super great. And I was already like on edge because the DM for that game was Matt Mercer.
Oh.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so like the fact that everyone at that table was able to pull a giant fat jackrabbit out of a yarmulke in that game.
Yeah.
Was like
That's awesome.
I felt like I was hiding down my own asshole the whole game. I don't know what to do.
I understand. That's really cool. That's awesome.
But it was amazing. Everybody was wonderful.
What about you, Nick? Do you have a favorite roleplay heavy game that you've DM'd or played before?
Honestly, and like both the campaigns I've ran for the Crit Chicks, they are a perfect mix of when mechanics count and when roleplay counts. So we have, like I said, there are sessions where we go a whole session, and I've had people, like, one of them say like multiple times, like, I didn't roll a die this week and I loved it. So it just goes session to session. It really does. And kind of a few things to answer your earlier question of how do you handle the role play aspect in game versus mechanics.
Right.
One of the things that I do is, as a DM, right, I'm behind the screen. Everything is mathematics in my head, right?
Yeah.
I saw a beautiful portrayal. I forgot who did it. Someone posted on Facebook or Twitter or something. It was a picture what the DM sees versus what the player sees.
Yeah.
What the DM sees, it was like an isometric grid with, black and white buildings with like little stick figures for characters and like all these numbers and all that. And then next to it was this like beautiful picturesque like cabin in the woods with a monster there, So as the DM with the numbers, what I always do is I always keep in mind my characters' passives. So all of their skills from A to Z, from acrobatics to what is it? Stealth is the last one or something, whatever it is.
Okay.
I always use the passive rules for all of those in those sessions where, hey, we don't need to roll a die for this stealth check or this deception check. I'll just have the numbers in my head, and I will role play my NPC based off of their passive deception or passive insight. So, and
I want to be at your table. That's the best. I love the passive mechanic.
You're welcome anytime.
I want it.
You got to realize that too. This, I think, if any advice comes out of this episode, but there's a lot of advice. Look at the skills on the character sheet, and you can use the passive, which is just 10 plus their modifier. Mm-hmm. You can use that in any point in the game. If you have a rogue who has a plus 11 to stealth, because that will happen.
Yeah.
maybe they never roll a stealth check again.
Right.
They're just passively stealth against the whoever they're stealthing around's passive perception. It's
Right.
nothing wrong with that. So, but yeah, my you've played with the ladies at my table
Yeah.
before. Very. I mean, that's why if I have a guest on, it's like, hey, you might guest for like 3 or 4 episodes because they're gonna want to talk to your character and like get their backstory and find out who they are. So.
The amount of times I would look at Nick as the DM and be like, do I know what they're asking me? Because you gave me like a little information and I'm like, do I make it up or do I not ruin your game?
Make it up. Just make it up. If
great.
if anybody's listening and you make it onto my channel and you're playing D&D with us and a question comes up you don't know the answer to, just make it up and I'll work it into the story. It's fine. It's fine.
Definitely. I think one of the things that I notice that a lot of new DMs do not do is actually look at the passive stuff, because the passive stuff is on the pages, and even low-level characters are generally bad at stuff.
Yes.
So they can be treated as such with their passives. Not that it's a bad thing. It's just... it's fun to fail, and I will never stop saying that. It is fun to be bad. It is fun to roleplay someone who is not amazing at everything, and it is fun to watch them figure out how to overcome versus I'm already good at this, I'm level 1. So the passive stuff really helps a lot too with making people really sit in their level, in my experience. It's been a useful tool in that regard, but
and you can use that for yes ands too.
exactly, yeah.
Yes, and you fail at this.
True.
And that's fine. Just as long as you make it fun. As long as you're not like, okay, yes, and you fall down a cliff and die, which, you know, I guess the extremes you can do that, but make it fun for the player, make it fun for the character, you know? You gotta be creative on the spot. That's what DMing is.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love the little. My favorite thing is when people add like little bits of like flair to like an otherwise boring mechanic.
Sure.
I attack. I
Yeah,
attack.
like attacking. I love people who describe what the fight looks like. I'm
Yes.
one of those DMs, and I've adopted that into my my tool belt because like everybody just roll your thing, tell me what you're doing, give it to me, and I'll tell you what that looks like. And then the story comes out. One thing I've recently adopted, which I loved the idea on paper. I didn't realize it was going to make me like cry in practice. But death saving throws are like the most boring thing in the world for a player to sit there and watch everybody else play combat and then roll one die to be like, I'm a step towards death's door, or
Right.
I took a slight breath in and I might be okay.
Yep.
I have decided that in my homebrew games, whenever somebody rolls a death saving throw, they have like a flashback or they tell me about a memory their character has had.
Yes.
As they're like moving towards death's door or moving back. Like what if they succeed the roll, it's give me a happy memory from your past. And if they don't, I'm like, give me a sad memory. And then one of my players pointed out that like they're like, wait, so do all characters in your universe with like they're all sad memories. When they die, do they all go to hell? Oh. Yeah, maybe I'll
Good
tweak
point.
this a little bit.
That's so funny.
I'm always on the lookout though for like things like that. If people have like a thing that they use to make the boring parts more involved,
Definitely.
like, do you have any of those? Are there things that you like spruce up the set, like the dreary or bleary parts of D&D that you like throw something in there that might make it?
So yeah, I mean, like death saves. What I do is if someone's down and they're unconscious rolling death saves, what I'll kind of do is I'll throw in reminders to the players that are acting, like they're going to attack the bad guy or they're healing somebody else or whatever the case may be. I throw in like descriptive reminders of what they see, the messy pile of their friend laying on the ground over there. I'll just like subtly remind them of what's going on over here, and I it's kind of a dick move, and I own it. I totally ignore the player of the down character until it's their turn. And then I focus all 100% of my attention on them when it's their turn to roll the die. So, it might sound boring in that time between, but when it's time to roll that die, I try to make that die roll as impactful as possible internally. And it comes across. I mean,
make them feel the gravity of their situation, right?
Every death save my players have ever rolled has always been like, this is the player. This is what they say. They go, okay. And then roll the die. I mean, even if it's their first death save, because
fantastic.
Yeah, it's way more cinematic than it sounds, because at the table it really comes through, because you don't exist. You're dead to me at the moment. But once your turn, hey, you're everything right now. It's great. I love it.
Oh, that's so good. The people, whenever somebody takes a roll on a die that feels like they're doing free throw shots on like a basketball court, like, all right, I'm gonna dribble my die 2 or 3 times. What about you, Jen?
I know I'm
interviewing you and I'm hijacking.
No, I know that's totally fine. Do it. Since talking with someone on this podcast, I've actually made a couple changes to the way that I do deaths, and I've really enjoyed it. So I roll the die and message them with what the result is. So that's the only time you're allowed to look at your phone. But
I thought I was evil.
Yeah, but here's the thing. It's because, and we talked about this in the past as well, but like, with the ability of everyone knowing what your death saves are, they will continue doing actions if you're about to come back to life. So they'll be like, you're fine. I'm going to do this.
Oh my God.
We'll catch you next round because you just had a success save. And it's like, okay, but now you have no idea. You don't know what's going on. And that's been really great for that sense of urgency. As long as, of course, I tell them, like, hey, I'm going to be rolling your death saves as long as you're okay with that at the beginning of the game. Like, it's always consent. Like, I don't want to take that agency away, but also I want to have you.
But you explain why.
I do.
I mean, you explain
There's
why.
no agency, though. There is no agency when you're dead. That, like, you can tell your podcasters, I'm grinning from ear to ear right now.
You are.
This is the best rule I've ever heard in my life. You don't get to roll your own death saves because nobody knows if you're going to die or not, unless they
go and physically check on you. Exactly, that is it. If they want to see where you are with death saves, they have to come and do a medicine check.
That's
and
fucking
as
genius.
well, I've started doing permanent damage. We talked about this with the lovely Casual Campbell, and I have enjoyed seeking sources for disabilities within D&D communities. And there's a lot of wonderful people that we've chatted with, a few that I'm going to bring on eventually. But I've been working with the table that I have right now. If they were to have 2 negative death saves, not 3 because then they'd be dead, but if they have 2 before they become conscious, they will have permanent damage in some regard. Whether they got stabbed, maybe they have something internal going on, whether they lose their leg, they lose an arm, like something permanent. This is the first time I've ever worked with permanent damage, and it's been very cool. And I'm not trying to just make it a flavor component. There's actually a bunch of individuals out there with and without disabilities who are making content for people to have that more inclusivity in the game, and it's been really cool to work with. For instance, I have someone in my game right now who doesn't have a foot. Because they crushed it on a rock and they got it stuck and they had a bunch of failed saves and they were losing a bunch of blood, so they just decided to cut their own foot off. And they're trying to find someone who will work with prosthetics in the future, but they're walking in crutches, so everything is difficult terrain to them right now. So they move half speed. They struggle. They can't sprint. They can't do the dodge. Like, they can't do those things. It's super interesting. And I've really enjoyed learning it and also integrating it into my games because I felt like it's been really inclusive of a certain community.
No,
so
absolutely.
I've been liking that.
That's wild. I'm gonna steal all 3 of these. If
Please do. Yeah.
That's so good.
And everyone who's listening, who's a first time DM, rule number 1 of DMing: steal everything.
Steal it.
Yes.
If you hear something,
Plagiarism
do
is the
it.
spice of D&D.
And here's the
Steal
thing,
it
actually.
all.
So you talk about stealing, and I want to say that half the time that I'm watching any show ever,
Mhm.
I'm like, I can do something like this. So
Mhm.
I'm watching Avatar: The Last Airbender, and now I'm watching The Legend of Korra, and now I'm also watching the Dragon Prince, which is a kids show. Surprisingly, because there's a lot of heavy themes in that show. And we watched the Dark Crystal, is that show? Like the original D&D, we're watching that. And then of course with like Lord of the Rings and whatnot, like sometimes you'll have little parallels with what you want to do, or like the mechanics, or like the way that magic works, or like little things. Do it. Don't rip it. But do it.
Yeah.
You could rip
No,
it, but
like, do it.
But like do it,
Do
yeah.
it. Yeah.
For
Make it your
instance,
own.
Yeah, for instance, in The Dragon Prince, if you haven't watched the show, it's great. It's on Netflix. It's part of the Netflix inclusivity movement of individuals of all kinds. There's a person on the show that uses sign language, and there's no subtitles. And I, as a person who's fluent in sign language as a kid, am so excited about that. Anyway, so there's a mechanic where magic comes from like these specific pieces of the world, like the sky, the earth, the water, blah, blah, blah. And you have to be near it to do that magic. So, like the moon elves of the show are strongest when it's nighttime. And that's very in line, I think, with the Avatar: The Last Airbender, where they're strongest during solstices, and they're strongest in the night and strongest in the day, things like that. And I'm like, I feel like someone has some inspiration here, and if they can do it, we can too.
Yup.
What is something that you guys have seen in a show and ripped or changed to work with your games, and maybe something you keep now, or something in your world that you're making, or something like that?
Go ahead.
No, I'm gonna let Nick go first. I can't.
What's up?
Yeah,
Nick?
you there was a long thing. I was like, all right, I'll take it. Yeah, so in my world, there are things called Doolahans, which if you look back at the word Doolahan, it's the Irish word for the headless horseman, right?
Mm-hmm.
These beings that are, horror stories for kids that, go to sleep or the Doolahan's going to come eat you kind of thing.
Sure.
I've mixed that kind of lore with like the Witcher lore. I love the story of The Witcher, the games and the books and the TV show. So Doolahans are kind of this like go between like druids and the urban world. And they all basically act like witchers. They patrol the borders between the worlds. And so I dug deep into Irish folklore, and then took Andre, I can't pronounce his last name because I'm not Polish, and I kind of fused those two ideas together, and I made Doolahans in my world. So they're 100%, and there's 2 prominent NPCs in my game right now that are both Doolahans that my players interact with like all the time. So yeah, it's a good time. I like them a lot.
That's really cool. How about you, Bright?
So, the game that I run most frequently for Magpie is Avatar.
Oh, okay, okay.
We have the Avatar TTRPG, and so flagrant rip-offs. But most recently,
it's called Avatar, though.
Yeah. But people don't realize this because I do it a lot, and it makes me giggle like a 2-year-old. But I have recently been integrating elements of Squid Game into Avatar.
Oh no!
So like, there are moments where like somebody like I'll name characters after people from Squid Game, and like,
sure,
like, man, that name sounds really familiar. I don't know why.
Who knows?
But like, I'll also add like make players pit against one another by giving them reasons to distrust one another in ways that they have done on the show. It tickles me. to watch people that are supposed to be cooperating like suddenly have a reason to be like, wait a minute. This 12 angry men syndrome kind of thing where they're all like, no, we all agree, but we're getting like frustrated with whatever scenario has been placed in front of them. And then the other one that I do a lot of is I don't let people play casters in any of my D&D games without telling me why their magic works.
Okay. Okay.
My least favorite kind of magic caster is the Harry Potter caster. I point my finger or wand or whatever at you, and the thing happens.
Sure. Okay. I think that's really
that's
interesting.
You got to tell me what you do to make your magic work. Do you store it in vials and throw the bottles later? Do you, if you pray to a god, why does their magic, like, why do you get magic from them? What is it? Do you have tattoos that you use to activate those spells? Do you have spell components that just have inherently magical properties to them? We cannot start until we have that conversation. Obviously, one-shots are different. I've played a lot of casters in that game, and I don't want to, make everyone uncomfortable. But if we're playing a campaign together, you best have a fucking reason for why your magic works, or you better find a new class, homie, because I'm here for that good story.
I think that makes sense.
I want reasons, like when your spell fails, or when, like, you miss. Like, I don't want to just be like, yeah, your spell fizzles because you suck.
Right.
I want reasons why it failed.
Right. Maybe your heart
like
wasn't in it, or you were distracted,
yeah,
that's interesting.
I had a player who decided that they were going to do, like, they played a wizard, but they flavored it like an alchemist. So, like, they would take a bunch of stuff. They had, like, not a backpack, but one of those, like, I don't have a better way to describe it than, like, the strap-on hot dog table that, like, the little boxes that you see people walking around at, like, stadiums, and they're like, hot dogs here?
Yep.
And they had, like, a table like that, and it would open up, and they would grab, like, alchemy components and mix the thing and then throw the bottle.
That's so fun.
That's awesome.
And so, like, when they missed, I would just be like, you made a wrong mix, and, like, a splash of miscolored ingredients just kind of scatters across the ground, and you see it, like, on the ground, and that's it. You screwed up.
That's fun. I like that.
I have a question and an example to hype this question a little bit for you here. So what if the player says, I don't know, it's up to you? And I'll give you an example. My wife, again, I think my wife makes characters, and I'm like Sid in Toy Story, just like, okay, I'm going to mess you up. This is going to be fun.
You ruined
it. She plays a wild magic sorcerer whose dad is a wizard. Her dad's a wizard, and her mom's a ranger. And she was trained as a ranger. She was bad at it, but she's a wild magic sorcerer. Has no idea where this comes from. And I can say this because she knows in game now. A hag took her as a baby, ate her, and when the hag was born again, because that's the mechanic, that's how it works.
Yeah.
The ritual didn't succeed fully, so she's still the daughter of these people, but she's also part hag. That's where she gets. So there's that story element. So if a player came to you and was like, well, what if my character doesn't know? It's up to you. Would you accept that?
Yes, but.
Yes, but.
Yes, but.
Here's the thing. Yes, I'll absolutely let you be like, I don't know where my magic comes from. I also tend to read a lot of, like, Lovecraftian sci-fi and fantasy. So, like, if you want me to drive that horse, you better be prepared for that horse to have, like, 8 eyes, 2 heads, and 6 legs. Because I'm bringing some fuck shit your way. And it's always going to be something that you're going to feel, and I'm going to describe how it feels when that magic comes out of you. And I'm always going to use an example that, like, I'll be like, you ever had a Charlie horse?
Oof.
Yeah, everyone's had it. You ever wake up in the middle of the night and your leg is just tense and you feel like your toes are interlocking side to side? As you release the spell, your arm tenses up, your fingers lock into place, and they curl forward as you are unable to unclench, almost like you've grabbed onto a live wire. But the spell succeeds. And then move on from there. That's the kind of stuff that I will do to you if you decide to give me the deal. You're
going to turn into Cthulhu and...
Yeah, it's like you.
So
I cast
sprouting
firebolt.
tentacles.
An elder god appears from the sky.
I mean, so like, yeah, that's so good. I mean, if somebody asked me to do that, I would absolutely like. You cast firebolt, sure. You know, you'll extend your hands, your hand will splay open, and you'll watch as like the veins in your forearm turn a bright orange instantaneously, and they glow through the skin, and you feel like a heat coming off of it before it dissipates completely, and a burst of fire flings out of your hands. I love that. Like, if somebody ever does that, like, God bless them, 'cause I'll do it. But it won't
fun.
be like fun. It'll be fun for me. Like, I'll do it. It'll be gross, but yeah, I'll take that journey with somebody.
That's fun. We have talked about a lot in the last hour. We've talked about yes but versus yes and. Talked about large parties and the horror stories with that. We've talked about player engagement, not rolling dice during roleplay heavy games, death saves, inspirations from other content, and making your characters regret asking you to learn where their magic came from. But, Bright, the one thing that we always end our podcast on is me asking you, what is that one solid piece of advice that you want the listeners today to walk away with if they want to start DMing? Or get better at it, I guess.
Oh man. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to fall in love with your characters.
Oh.
You're going to play a game that will reveal a lot about who you are, who your DM is, what they think is entertaining, what they think is sad. You're going to go through a lot. You're going to trauma bond with a lot of these people.
True.
Depending on what kind of game you're playing. I say let those experiences exist like they're real people. Don't be afraid to like commit yourself to those people. Because it'll put you in a position that when you have to, as DM, kill them or put them in danger, that you are also feeling the gravity of what they're feeling in the driver's seat.
Definitely. Great advice. Get into it and get sad with your friends. We love it.
No way to grow closer better. It's awesome. It's awesome.
True.
Yep.
Well, my friends, I hope you had a good drive to work or whatever you were doing while listening to us ramble on about D&D as we do. My name is Jen. You can find me at Jen is online on everything you can possibly think of. And Nick.
My name is Nick. You can find me at EmoAasimar on Twitter and Instagram, and Southwest Gaming Society on Twitch every Wednesday.
And Bright, tell us about you again.
My name is Bright. You can find me everywhere at Bright Dystopia. Once again, I'm a voiceover actor, Twitch affiliate, Jasper's Game Day ambassador, and professional GM for Magpie Games. That is Bright, one word, Dystopia.
Love it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
Very welcome.
That's great.
No, you. And goodbye, friends. We'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
Bye.